Hey folks, happy Tuesday to you. We continue our pastor's devotional here using our January prayer calendar. Be looking in the mail online later this week. Also on Facebook every day, the February prayer calendar will be released, and so you can get a copy of that and continue doing this with us. I'm thankful that you have joined us for this day. Tuesday, January 26th, we're in the book of Proverbs. So turn it over into Proverbs chapter 3. We are reading, for those of you who do this every day, yesterday we were in verses 5 through 8. Today, verses 9 and 10. I got to admit to you, I like verses 9 and 10 better than 5 through 8, the message that is taught. That I really enjoy this particular message. So, as always, the encouragement from the prayer team is that when that you are writing these verses. So as soon as I record this, I'm recording actually Monday evening. As soon as I record this and upload it, get it ready for you for Tuesday morning, then I will pull out my journal and write these scriptures down so that we might commit them to ourselves. There's some sort of commitment in the writing process. So Proverbs chapter 3, verse 9. Honor the Lord with your substance and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. I'm going to read that again. Honor the Lord with your substance. I love that line. And with the first fruits of all your produce, then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. Now, here's the deal. There's debate about whether the scripture should be read literally, or whether it can be more figurative or metaphoric or symbolic. I tend towards the latter. I don't think it has to be read all literally. I mean, if I'm reading this passage literally, honor the Lord with your substance, with the first fruits of all your produce. Well, I don't grow any produce, and so does that mean I don't need to give anything? I don't think that's what this passage is saying. I think this passage is saying, honor the Lord with all your substance, with the first fruits of what you have, of what's most valuable. The other thing that I don't take literally from this is it says if you do this, then your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will be bursting with wine. There's something out there right now in a more conservative evangelical Christian movement, within the conservative evangelical Christian movement, that's called the prosperity gospel. And I completely, utterly reject the prosperity gospel. What the prosperity gospel says is that if you do the right things, then God will give you more blessings. So if I give of the first fruits, what it's talking about here is that literally, God, if I give $5, God's going to give me $50 back somehow. If I give in great generous ways, that God's going to reward me financially or monetarily in some way in this life. And I think that it should be read much more metaphorical than that. I don't think that if I pray more, that my paycheck is going to grow. I don't think that if I give $100 to a homeless person, that I'm going to get home and somehow there's like $1,000 check surprise check in my mailbox. I don't think that if I go to church more often, or if I give money to a certain organization, that I'm necessarily going to be blessed. The blessing is not sort of one in one like that. Rather, what this passage is talking about is a first fruits from the best of what you have. Do you give the best time to God? So think about, when do you do sort of your devotional, or when do you stop and pray, or when do you stop and read scripture? Is it at the end of the day when you're completely exhausted and have no more energy left? Is it during a moment in which you're just completely frazzled and you can't do anything else but to just step away? Or is it in the best, most productive, most meaningful times? Is that how you give to God? What about financially? Do you give to God out of what's left at the end of the month? After you've cared for all of your needs and all of your wants. And if you're like me and my family, there's not a lot left at the end of the month after we care for all of our needs and all of our wants. Or do you give God out of the first, then you care for your needs, then with what's left, you care for your wants? Do you give God, if you're particularly gifted in some way, do you offer that gift to God and God's children? Do you offer that gift to God and God's children if you're particularly gifted in a certain way? So that's what it's talking about, is when it says the first fruits of your produce. And then, like I said, I love the line, honor the Lord with your substance. I think there's a substance inside of us that is far more valuable than the money we have or the resources that we might be able to share with someone. So I think of honor or honor the Lord with your substance, and as a result, your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will be bursting with wine. Let me give you a couple of examples really quick. I miss the Mexico mission trip this year because of the pandemic. We can't go. I've gone, I think, 10 out of the last 11 years, probably 18 out of the last 20 years, maybe. I've been involved in some trip. For me, it is a refueling stop in my year. I go that I might give of myself. I mean, I volunteer my time. I pay some money. I go down. I'm working hard for just a few days, which would lead someone to think like I'm pouring myself out. But the result is every year that I'm so filled up. It gives me fuel for the year ahead. So I'm honoring the Lord by sharing my substance, and in return, I get filled up. Have you ever served someone in some way and you discovered at the end of it that, by God, I'm the one that got refilled? Have you ever given forgiveness to someone and then reflected upon the way that made you feel? I mean, you're the one that gave forgiveness to them, but somehow you felt filled. Have you ever given mercy or grace to someone? I mean, you're giving to them, but somehow you feel fulfilled. You feel better about yourself and life. I think that's what this passage is talking about. When we honor the Lord by sharing our substance, sharing our lives with others, what happens is we feel fulfilled, and the reason we feel fulfilled is because in honoring the Lord with the substance of our lives, we grow closer to God. So it's not that we give grace and so God says, oh, let me give you some grace back, or we give forgiveness and God says, oh, let me give you some forgiveness back. We give forgiveness, and because that's more Christ-like, we become more godly and we feel more right in life. I'm going to miss that about Mexico this year, which means in my own life, I've got to figure out ways to compensate for that loss of being filled up. And so what really I have to think about is how can I share the substance of my life in other ways so that I can be more godly, more Christ-like, and therefore feel more right and in tune with God. That's the goal. Every day if we woke up in the morning and that was our goal, man, think about how your life would feel day in and day out. Think about how our world would be each and every day. God bless. Have a great day.